Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. In this video, I'll talk about the case for a big, massive stimulus. Now, Jason Furman, who essentially was named by President Barack Obama as chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, and Jason Furman is an American economist and professor at Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government, and he's a senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. He said something in an interview today on CNBC that I actually found very interesting. He said we should not be focused on the amount of debt that we have, but we should be focused on debt service. Now, in case you're not sure about the difference between debt and debt service, let's say you live in a home and the home costs $250,000. So let's say your monthly mortgage payment is, I'm just going to throw out a number. Let's say your monthly mortgage payment is $1,700. In this case, your debt would be whatever you owe. Maybe you put down 25% on the house and you owe 200,000. So in this case, your debt would be 200,000, but the more important number would be the debt service, which is 1,700 a month. In other words, that's the amount of money you pay to service the debt, broadly speaking. Without getting too technical, debt service refers to your ability to pay off your loan, and it's not really related to the size of the loan. The thing that the debt service is related to is the interest rate. So if your interest rate is low, your debt service is going to be more manageable. If your interest rate is high, your debt service is not going to be manageable. In this environment that we have right now, we have a low interest rate. Now, what is ironic about this whole situation is, guess who sets the interest rate for the US government so that the US government can manage its own debt service? It's the Federal Reserve. So the US government fundamentally, through the Federal Reserve, has the ability to control its own debt service. This is an advantage that we have that no other country in the world has. It's almost like saying, hey, if I'm in trouble, I'm going to rig the system to work in my favor. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's not the topic of conversation in this video. The topic of conversation in this video is, do we have a case for massive stimulus because our debt service is so low right now? In fact, it is effectively negative if we take inflation into account. And these aren't my words. These are the words of Jason Furman, who again was a chair on the Council of Economic Advisors nominated by President Barack Obama. So here's the important thing. If you are going to take on more debt, and if your debt service is manageable, in fact, because of inflation, let's say inflation's 2.5% a year. So let's say you borrow money at, let's just say 3.5%. But by virtue of inflation, your money is losing 2.5% in value. So let's say you had $100 today. That $100 would essentially buy you $97.5 worth of stuff a year from now, because the dollar becomes weaker because of inflation. And then a year later, it buys you, it sort of reduces its purchasing power by another 2.5. So let's say 2 years from now, the $100 that you have today buys you $95 worth of stuff. But you're only paying 3.5% interest. So if the money is losing value at 2.5% in year one, and it's losing another 2.5% in year two, but you've borrowed that money and you're only paying 3.5% interest, guess what? By the end of the second year, because that money is losing value, but you're paying 3.5% in interest, you're not paying more, you're not paying less, you effectively end up ahead of the game. In fact, it's almost like you got paid to borrow the money. That's called borrowing at negative interest. Now, without getting too technical, let me just say that if you can borrow money at 3.5% today, and let's say 30 years from now, you are still paying off that loan at 3.5%, but the money, tomorrow's money that you're using to pay off the loan essentially is a weaker dollar, if you will. You end up ahead of the game. Why? Because you've borrowed at a certain rate, but over a period of time, you're essentially paying off that loan with weaker dollars. A simpler way of saying this is that today's dollars are more valuable than tomorrow's dollars. So if you can do that, what you have is effectively a negative interest rate, which is true, which is what Jason Furman pointed out. So let's take a look at an important segment with Jason Furman, where he was asked to comment on how much money should actually be injected into the economy in terms of stimulus. How is President-elect Biden going to pay for all the stuff that he wants to pay for? Clean energy, education, healthcare, infrastructure. There's so much that President-elect Biden wants to do. Where's the money going to come from when we already have a huge deficit, when we already have a $3 trillion deficit that was created this year, in large part because of the CARES Act? And this is what Jason Furman said. He said interest rates adjusted for inflation are negative and will stay negative. This is a very important thing that he said, which essentially makes me ask my viewers and subscribers, should we essentially do a huge stimulus because it's so cheap to borrow money right now anyway? He also said that there are risks to doing too little, and he said the Biden team understands the risk. Now, you would expect an Obama appointee to be supportive of the Biden team, so there's no surprise there. He said more banking regulation is coming and it will prevent the financial system from blowing up as it did 12 years ago. Remember all the deregulation that was done under the Trump administration? Now it seems like some regulation is coming. This isn't necessarily bad for banks, but this is something that could affect banking stocks, because if banks have more regulation and they don't make much interest off of their money, then that affects the profitability of the banks. He was asked to comment on the rising fiscal deficit, and he said the right way to look at this, to look at stimulus, to look at fiscal deficit, is not the amount of debt we have, but the debt service. I thought this was a very interesting comment, and he did say the Biden team is a dream team. Let's roll the tape and see what Jason Furman had to say.
I think, Jason, one question people are asking on Wall Street is how many trillions are we talking about? It's one thing to do a few trillion in stimulus to get through the COVID crisis, unemployment, small business, that sort of thing. But when you start talking about clean energy jobs, he's talked about reforming the education system, the healthcare system, infrastructure projects. What kind of bill are we looking at?
Oh, I think you're looking at some very substantial investments. I mean, we're in a world where interest rates adjusted for inflation are negative now. They're expected to stay negative. I think the market is screaming out that we need to do more and is worried that we're going to do too little. I think this is a team that understands the risks of doing too little and is determined to avoid it.
Jason, do you think the banks as a sector have reason to fear the new economic team?
No, I think there's going to be tougher financial regulation. Tougher financial regulation can sometimes prevent the financial system from blowing up as it did 12 years ago. But Janet was a regulator at the San Francisco Fed, obviously oversaw all of it as chair of the Board of Governors in the Fed. She's been around all of this, and yes, there'll be some rebalancing, not a lot to fear.
You talked about the risks of doing too little, but about the risks of doing too much. We're looking at a $3 trillion deficit for the fiscal year 2020, which is almost 3 times what you saw during the Obama administration during 2009. At some point, doesn't that matter? Doesn't that become a major risk factor for the economy?
I think economically, the right way to look at it isn't the amount of debt we have, but the amount of debt service we have. That is historically low right now, even according to forecasts which have interest rates rising a lot faster than the market expects those interest rates to rise. That debt service should remain moderate over the next decade. So I think we have a lot of fiscal space. What's important is that you use it well. I don't think you should spray money around randomly. I think you should be making productive investments like in infrastructure and education.
Jason, just quickly, finally, any of the nominations find trouble getting approved, getting consent?
I really hope not. I mean, this is a dream team. These are people that are very, very capable, all of them. And they're not going to have 100% agreement with the views of the Republicans, but the president should have his people if they're qualified, and they certainly are.
So this is a very important question to ask when building wealth and when managing debt. Managing debt is an important way to be able to build wealth. Now, if you're of the philosophy that you should have no debt at all, that's fine. That's fine. I know a lot of financial experts talk about that. In my case, I can speak for myself. I have no problems borrowing money at 2%, 3%, 4%, because I know how I can make that money make significantly more, whether it's through the real estate that I own, whether it's through businesses that I own. Because the way I look at it is, if you can borrow money at a low interest rate, and then if you can pay off that money fairly comfortably, you can then use that money to do whatever you want with it and compound it even faster. In other words, you can effectively build your wealth using someone else's money. But the more fundamental question to ask is, should we have a $3 trillion stimulus bill because the debt service is going to be manageable for the US government? If you borrow $3 trillion and if you have debt service on a monthly basis as the US government that you can essentially manage, is that something that should be done? And as far as Jason Furman is concerned, the answer to that question is yes. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. This is a very important question because the Democrats believe that debt service, because it's manageable, because of low interest rates, there should be a large stimulus. The Republicans believe that we don't need more unnecessary spending, which, by the way, is the reason why the stimulus gridlock exists, why it's been going on for months now. So let me know what you think, because this is the factor here that is separating both sides, other than some philosophical differences, some differences in priorities, trying to protect businesses in terms of legislation, in terms of lawsuits for the Republicans, trying to make sure that there is some sort of liability protection, and the state and local governments need funding as far as the Democrats are concerned. Both sides have a certain point of view, but this video focuses on the debt versus the debt service. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. What an incredible day. What an incredible news cycle. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. If you learn something new from this video, please consider clicking the like button. Please share this video with friends and family. Please ignite that subscribe button and ignite that notification button, because the name of our channel is Ignition Time. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. East Coast time. Get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000, and then you'll get added to SMS alerts list going forward. If you want, you can also get added to our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts, and you can get added to our email list. You can opt out of the SMS list or the email list at any point in time that you want. No worries about that. You can also follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. So please make sure to follow us on Instagram. You can also, if you want, follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Follow us on Twitter to get breaking news and alerts from us on Twitter. Now, sometimes YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. That happens with technology. We're living in an age of technology. All you have to do is simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. And then you can visit the homepage of our channel and watch our videos at any point in time that you want. I think you'll find that extremely beneficial. As always, if you learn something new from this video, please consider sharing this video with friends and family so that we can help grow our community. Also, keep in mind that you can always comment below and participate in our growing community. Our community is growing. We are bipartisan, we are respectful, we are intelligent, and you'll make some new friends in our community. Keep in mind, for us in our community, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American. So for us, it's about putting the country first and not really getting into arguments about whether you're pro-Trump or anti-Trump, pro-Biden or anti-Biden. Keep in mind that on this channel, I'll report the truth. I'll report the truth as it emerges. And, I'm not pro-Trump. I'm not anti-Trump. I'm not pro-Biden. I'm not anti-Biden. I will report the news as it comes out. And so that is what you're going to get on this channel. You're not going to get any false hope. You're not going to get any hype. You're not going to get some clickbait like, stimulus check approved when there's nothing approved. And this channel is more than a stimulus channel. This channel is about matters that are important to the economy and matters that are important to your money. So again, this channel is about country, economy, and money. Once again, if you learned something new from this video, please consider sharing this video with friends and family. You will always find a link to all of our resources in the description section below. So definitely check out our description section. One last time, please click the like button, please subscribe, please enable notifications. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.